I want to start with a moment I got completely wrong. Years ago, I was coaching the leader of a mid-sized manufacturing company. The leadership team had spent 3 months designing a reorganization. My client was proud of it. It was elegant. In the rollout meeting, a plant supervisor who had been there for 22 years folded her arms and said, "This won't work on the second shift." The leader patiently and thoroughly explained how obvious the plan was and that she needed to follow the logic. She nodded and never said another word. We moved on. 4 months later, the reorganization was coming apart on second shift for precisely the reasons she had tried to offer. She had not been resisting the plan. She was trying to hand the leader the one piece of information the plan was missing. But the leader was busy defending the elegant design, and the gift felt like to him an attack. As his coach, I had missed it too. Here's what I learned from that. The pushback that irritates you may contain the exact information that protects you. The smartest leaders I know have learned to value resistance. In this video, I'll show you what resistance can reveal, why capable leaders miss it, and 3 practices that help you hear it before your reflex shuts it down. Hello, I'm Dr. Michael Broom. Welcome to a Leadership and Self-Mastery video. In the last video, we looked at the 6 channels through which influence flows, and the principle that influence has to be allowed. It can't be forced. Resistance is the moment you discover that it is not being allowed. Your direction meets friction. Someone says in one form or another, no. Most leaders treat that moment as an obstacle to clear. But resistance is not an obstacle. It is information. How you receive it determines what you learn, and whether the person in front of you becomes a collaborator or an adversary. As you listen, keep a recent moment in mind where somebody pushed back against what you wanted to do. Not the time you handled it beautifully, the other one. When someone resists, they are responding to something they believe your plan may not have accounted for. It may be a flaw you have not seen, a belief that needs examining, or a threat to someone's standing, or simply not enough information to make it safe to move forward. Each is worth knowing. But in the heat of the moment, we react to the resistance instead of becoming curious about what is underneath it. In the second shift example, I watched that leader see useful pushback as disloyalty. So the flaw wasn't addressed and the person shut up. 2 losses, both avoidable. If instead you treat that resistance as information, 3 things change. Number 1, your decisions get better. The resistance points to gaps in your thinking or consequences you hadn't considered. Number 2, your people will be more open with you. When concerns meet curiosity, they keep bringing you the early warnings that prevent expensive surprises. And number 3, your influence grows. When people trust that their perspective will be heard, they are more willing to follow you when you must have a direction they may not prefer. So here is the question. Would you rather discover a potential flaw now or later when it has become a failure? The answer is obvious, of course. If resistance is this useful, why is it so hard to receive? Just 2 reasons. The first is ego. Resistance can feel like a charge against your competence or your authority. The ego translates it instantly into "they are wrong" or "they don't respect my position." I still can feel that quick flash of heat when a plan I've thought through carefully gets challenged. It's not going away after 50 years even, and I don't expect it to. What has changed in what I will do in the 3 seconds following that? The second is culture. Many organizations inadvertently train people to read resistance as disloyalty. Leaders can carry that pattern even though they reject the model intellectually. That's the uncomfortable part. You can agree with every word I'm saying and still repeat what happened in that manufacturing plant. Understanding this idea is not the same as being able to practice it under pressure. So let me offer you 3 practices that are simple but not always easy. First, slow down. Pause. Take a breath. The defensive response is so fast. You want to immediately explain, dismiss, or reassert your control. Curiosity needs a pause. Even 3 seconds can shift you from defense to curiosity. Notice your physical signals. A tight chest, heat in the face, the urge to start talking. That is not the signal to win the moment. It's the signal to wait. Second, invite and listen for the concern underneath the position. People rarely lead with the deepest issue. What comes first is, that won't work. Underneath may be fear, an unmet need, or something you haven't seen yet. Instead, ask, what worries you about this? Or, what am I not seeing? Then wait for the answer. And here is the part most people skip. You have to be willing to change your mind after considering what you hear. If the answer someone offers you won't affect you, they will notice that. They always do. Third, think systemically. Resistance that feels personal often points to a systems problem, a broken process, an old conflict, a resource squeeze, or the wrong incentive. If either of us had asked that plant supervisor, walk me through what happens on second shift, the system problem would have become visible before the reorganization failed. So pause, ask, listen, genuinely, of course. Which one of the 3 is hardest for you? Put 1 word in the comments. Pause, inquiry, or system. There is a more difficult version of this. I want to name it directly. Often the most important resistance is yours. In the first video, we looked at internal resistance, the beliefs and automatic behaviors that interfere with your own capacity to be effective. That same dynamic appears when another person pushes back. If your first instinct is to shut them down, the most useful question is not about them. It is, what am I protecting? What would I have to look at about me if I took this seriously? That question is certainly uncomfortable, but it is often a very productive one. The best leaders I've known developed a genuine appetite for pushback. Not because they enjoyed being challenged, but because they learned, usually the hard way, that the alternative costs so much more. Run one simple experiment. The next time someone resists your direction, notice your first 3 seconds. Do not try to be perfectly calm, just notice the reflex. Then ask yourself, what am I not seeing? Think about your answer before you decide what to do with it. And if your answer changes the conversation, come back and tell me in the comments what you learned. That's how this becomes a practice rather than just a good idea. In the final video, we'll bring this full circle. Will people keep allowing your influence over time? You've built personal power, learned the channels of influence, and you've practiced meeting resistance with curiosity instead of defense. The remaining question is how to keep people's willingness to be led by you intact. The answer is equity, and it is both simpler and more demanding than most leaders expect. See you there. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe.